Welcome everyone to Health Coach TV. I'm your host, Dr. Shauna Menard, and I am here with the amazing Krista Hansen. Welcome, Krista.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dr. Shauna.
Well, I have a treat for all of you menopausal women, or maybe you have symptoms you don't even know they're related to menopause. Krista is the menopause wellness coach, and she's going to be helping us and dive into how can we survive menopause. She has a phenomenal story to tell, way beyond the usual hot flashes and little weight gain that a lot of us associate with menopause. She's going to dive deep into that, into some of the other symptoms, which sometimes people don't even relate to menopause, like pain, like debilitating pain, like anxiety and debilitating anxiety. She has a powerful story. This really hit her like a ton of bricks, and she was not finding the support out there. And she knows that there are a lot of women suffering like she did, and she wants to let you know you don't have to suffer in silence. So, Krista helps women transition through menopause with ease, unravel some of these symptoms, and she wants people to know they do not have to suffer in silence. So Krista joins us from the beautiful coastal city of Tawasin, BC, Canada, absolutely gorgeous area of the country where the ferries run from. And a spelling bee question is Tawasin. So there's a lot of consonants in there, not a lot of vowels. Welcome, Krista.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me. I'm so excited about this.
My pleasure. Well, let's dive into this. Let's talk about what exactly it is that you do as the menopause wellness coach. And I really think people will really get a lot out of your story. Let me look at you here. Get a lot out of your story and your journey, because it was like a night and day kind of all of a sudden story for you. And I think there's pieces of that. So tell us a little bit about your story. We kind of know what you do, but really, I really want to know about your story. What happened?
Yeah, there is a lot to my story, and why I'm doing this is about my journey into menopause. And it's why I love to help women transition into menopause with ease and comfort and joy. So basically, the summer after my kids graduated from high school, I woke up one morning and my upper back froze and stopped me in my tracks. I was on my way to the washroom, and I couldn't get much further. So I spent the next few days in bed, and it was terrible. I thought that it would pass, but it didn't. So that summer was like a summer of, extreme body pain, sleepless nights, and debilitating anxiety. So I basically started with a chiropractor to work with my neck, and went to see if she could release the neck, and she did for a few days, but then it came back, and I thought, okay, I need more help than just this. So that's when I decided to seek out my doctor. And she said, here's 2 pain medications, one oral, one topical, and go see a physiotherapist for the neck. So I took her advice like any good patient, and the physiotherapist worked on me for probably 5-6 weeks without huge improvement. So I really started to get worried at this point, and I began to think, like, really, what is going on with my body? I've never been in so much pain like this, so much stiffness and pain. So I thought about it some more.
And you even said, I think you even said, like, your son was like, he saw you like a zombie and was worried. Like,
did.
It was sudden. And we don't usually associate that with menopause. So it would be natural for you not even to be thinking about that. And then all of the logical things that people would try, and it's not working. And that must have been horribly scary for you.
It was, yeah. My son didn't recognize me. I didn't know what was going on. The family didn't know what was going on. It was really scary because I'm normally functioning perfectly fine and walk fine and everything. So everything was just hurting to an extreme amount. And it almost changed overnight, which was the scarier part. I could never imagine one changing that quickly. So yeah, it was a very challenging time. So I had to go back to my doctor. I really had no choice after. So by September, I went back to her and I said, this is still bothering me. And I want you to know something. I haven't had my period all summer. It's been missing. And maybe this could be the missing link here. And I even said to her, I looked right in her eyes, like, could this be menopause? Because there's no period yet. And I know they usually do sputter, but mine is missing in action. And she kind of laughed and giggled. And I was just taken a bit back, actually, because she said, I hear this all the time. We'll check your FSH levels in the spring and wait till then, come back and we'll check and see how everything's going then. And I just like walked out of
half a year, and you're like debilitated.
Yeah, that would be about 6 months. And I'm in a ton of pain. So that was not going to work. I needed another solution.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. So it's bad and debilitating. You go to your doctor. They're like, check back in 6 months. Of course, it's menopause. All women around your age go through it. Just the way it is. I hear this all the time, which means, oh my goodness, you're not the only one. That's a scary thought. You're not the only one coming with these complaints and getting no answers. And so then what do? You're in this horrible pain. You've got this horrible anxiety. And had she confirmed it was menopause at this point that you were going through?
No, she didn't. I went to somebody else because I just felt that she wasn't even listening to me. So I found someone to check my FSH levels for me, which stands for like a follicle stimulating hormone. So I had someone else do that, and the levels were in the postmenopausal range. So I clearly was, what I was feeling was real. And I felt like my doctor felt it's just something that everybody experiences. Come back when.
Yeah. Okay. So now, what do you do? How do you get on the other side? So what happened? So did you stay stuck like that, or did you unravel it, or like what happened next?
Yeah, I had to do some of my own work, and
before we go there, when I heard your story, what was particularly poignant was what happened after, when she just dismissed you and you're left with no answers and you left to go to your car.
Oh, I was in tears. Yeah. I just broke down in tears as I left the office because I knew I needed relief, and fast relief right away. And she dismissed me. So it was not a good situation.
I think a lot of women can relate to that. I mean, we know menopause happens, and when you become of a certain age, we kind of know it's coming, but it's not the same for everyone. And it's not necessarily, I know that you're passionate about this, it's not even the same now as it was for like a generation ago. But okay, we need the happy ending. So you're debilitated, you're in tears. Then what did you do?
So then, like, I did get the FSH levels checked. So then I knew that I am in almost a postmenopausal stage. So I very slowly and surely tried to find some self-care tools that would be soothing for this pain and anxiety. Took it to a whole new level and really did it routinely and consistently all the time. And I couldn't stop, and I used a few different techniques, from meditation to walking in nature, but I kept to my routine, and I pretty much, I learned that I had to look after myself more than anything at this point in time and find those answers. Yeah.
Okay. So now, over the course of time, so you had the pain, anxiety, you had some other, and I'm going to call them unusual symptoms that we don't necessarily associate with menopause? What were some of the other things? So you had the hot flashes, had that, but anything else that you had experienced?
Yeah, some of the unusual things were numb feet, and a sensitive bladder, so frequent urination. That one really bothered me. Even a little bit of pain by the ovaries. I thought that was odd as well. And one that I don't mention very often to people is my hearing suddenly seemed a little bit worse. So my senses were either, my sense of smell was aggravated, almost like in pregnancy, but my hearing was becoming a bit dulled. So those were a little bit unusual and scary as well. Yeah, they were very different for sure than the typical hot flashes or brain fog that you might typically hear from women.
Yeah. Now I know you like went from this and then you really went to town because no one else was going to have to take matters into your own hands. Obviously seeking out different other wellness professionals. You even, and what we can talk a little bit more about some of those things. What was the end shot of that? So, by spring, how were you kind of thing? So, and what all happened? Did it stay bad or did you crack the code on it? Basically is what we want to know.
Yeah, pretty much by Christmas, January, February, I was feeling, significantly better. I did crack a code there for sure. I could now sit and walk without pain, which is really important. I could keep my anxiety under control. I could now think in the present tense, basically. Before I was just ruminating in circles. So that was great. And then my relationships, they just improved way more too. So I could connect with my husband, and my poor son now could see his mother in her eyes again. And I didn't look like a zombie, to be honest. So yeah, it was almost by like January significantly better, or lessened to a great extent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That I think that is, hope inspiring and hopeful for people that, and especially if they're like, oh, maybe that symptom I have, maybe that's actually menopause. So even right there, this has already been helpful to know that you can and did and help women get on the other side of it. Also helpful. Tell us a little bit about how did you do that? So like what was helpful in you getting, what were the things that were aggravating it and making it bad? And what were the things that was helpful in like unraveling it? Like just what awareness did you kind of like aha moment, that kind of switched this? I know if you had to sum up some of the things that you're like, well, now I know this, and this is a deal breaker. Can you share a little bit about that at all?
Well, there was one really big secret in there that I discovered, and that was that the stress response in my body was very much tied to those physiological symptoms that I was experiencing. So in like my case, I really learned that my adrenals were not functioning well. My parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system were not in balance at all. And when that happens, your cortisol levels just shoot up. And then that brings a whole bunch of symptoms, like high blood sugar levels, disrupted sleep, anxious thoughts. So when I saw that relationship between stress and the physiological symptoms and could correlate and see them on a list that they are related, there was a big aha moment in my mind at that point. And so that's when I really learned that I had to look after that stress response in my body, which was a really new thought to me, actually. That was the real secret.
Yeah. I had the same aha revelation for me, not as a doctor. I didn't really, stress aggravates everything, sure. But I didn't realize how critical that was. I ended up being in this unique experiment of life, if you will, where I had the situation when I was going through menopause, where I was working in Calgary, Alberta, and I was living in Kelowna, BC, Canada, and I would fly to work. So I was kind of living this double life. And so when I was at work, more stressful, that's where I got the hot flashes. And so my diet pretty much the same. My weight's the same on a Monday versus a Friday, kind of like not a huge shift. A lot of me was the same. And now maybe there's a little bit of a climate change thing there, but it was more so, I know that it was the stress, and the more stressful days, that's when the hot flashes came. That was when everything, and then when I would come back to Kelowna and I'm walking the dog in the woods and, going for hikes with my husband, and I was health coaching, which was not the same stress that I had as a radiologist. I slept. The hot flashes went away, and I'm like, isn't that interesting? It was like a switch, like that. So you're absolutely right about, and we know that, but I don't think, and I think that's partly why so many women are suffering so much these days from menopause earlier and earlier, and for extended lengths of time, it seems. And yet left with really not much of a place to go to for relief. But our lives are more go, go, go. We're usually in that sandwich generation in menopause, and we're the caregivers, we're women, right? So we're caring for kids, we're caring for elderly parents, kind of caught in the middle, still working like crazy, some of us, in whatever we're doing, whether it's paid or not paid, but still like a lot of a stress and going and putting out there, and usually at the expense of our own needs and things like that. And so it's like this perfect storm. Was any of that a factor, do you feel like, for you? Because on the one hand, your kids were just graduating, so it should have been like the freedom, like no more,
it should have been.
and it should be all great, and it should have been lesser. And maybe it's just the culture. I don't know if you had anything to add on that or not.
Yeah, I do, because I think you definitely hit the nail on the head there. The stress in a woman's life at this time of life is a big deal. And they even say the whole decade before you get into menopause, watch your stress levels. Your adrenals will be depleted if they're high, and you need your adrenals to be functioning well, because they take over that estrogen production when your ovaries stop. So it is a really important time. And you brought up, like, for me, that year before menopause, this is a really good point, because I actually was experiencing a lot of what I'd call good stress. And people need to understand that stress is stress on the body. And I'll give you an example. I just started a new job. I just started an art class I'd always wanted to do. And I also started to do actually a hospice volunteer training program that I wanted to do for years and years. So my schedule is busy 6 days a week with kind of new things. And I had 2 kids, twins, graduating in the same year. So they're looking at college applications and trying to figure out their future and all the grad events. So I had this packed full year of stuff. And I think that my adrenals got even more just more abused that year from good stress too. So that just is very important that people understand that stress is stress, and we need to look after ourselves, especially when we are running like at both ends, like that.
Really good point. Really good point, Krista, because sometimes we're like, well, so-and-so's got it worse, or I really have nothing to complain about. So even in those situations, even that, and I think we get acclimatized to it. We're so busy doing so many things, we don't even notice it. And so is that why when you had your own story, you saw yourself go from point A to point B, and wow, that's better. I got myself the relief. And then you hear the doctor saying, oh yeah, I see this all the time. And you're like, gosh, how many women don't get on the other side of it? So is that why you decided to become a menopause wellness coach? I know you went full on in on that, because your life really did depend on it. Like it wasn't looking good. And so is that why you decided to do that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that is totally right on the money there. after I experienced this, I knew that I wasn't the only woman suffering silently. There were going to be every woman goes through this phase of life. So I knew that a lot of us needed help with this. And to be honest, I wish I had somebody that could help me with this and hold my hand through this process. And I had been working a little bit already in weight loss and some wellness coaching already. So I had already got that experience of loving that one-on-one connection with women. So this experience literally leapt me into studying this. So maybe if it's okay with you, I'll let you know a little bit more. I decided actually, because I was so fascinated by this entire stage of life, I sought out where I could even study it and found a program in the UK. And I basically did the whole program. It was everything and more that I was looking for. It helped me understand how to look at a woman, like from nutrition, lifestyle, stress management, and mindset, which is also very important. So it was just what I needed to start working in this field.
So important that you, and you're so great that you dedicated all of that to really getting on the other side of it. Because on the one hand, there's your story, which, this worked for you, but not everybody's going to have pain, and not everybody's going to have anxiety, and not everybody's going to be exactly the same. So really to kind of come at it from all angles and really crack the code on this mystery of this thing called menopause that, all women kind of, as they get at some point in their life, are going to transition through. And it should be normal, but it's not. And a lot of times it can be natural. It is a natural process, although we kind of look at it like a disease. It itself isn't really the disease. The other factors that are going on in our life make it a problem and make it difficult to navigate. But what an opportunity to kind of say, okay, I've been getting away with things for so long, abusing my body, and now my body's saying, whoa. Knock it up. I'm crying uncle here, and we got to get on the other side of it. So a great opportunity. So tell us, who is it that you would work with? What do you do? How do you help them? What do you help them with? So tell us a little bit about who you help. What do you help them with?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So most of the women I help are either in that late perimenopause stage or the early menopause stage. And like myself, they might be experiencing disrupted sleep or pain, anxiety, a lot of the similar symptoms that I have. And some of them, just like me, might have sought out their doctor and got really no support at all. And other women are just at the beginning of that journey and really wanting to find some holistic approach before those symptoms completely spiral out of control. Because it is a natural process, like you said, but it's just more bumpy for some than others. And I really, really want to help those that are struggling with it, because it is not easy when you're in the midst of it.
Yeah, not fun when you don't have those answers. So do you work with people in person or online, virtually? I know the people that I talk to, it's all the variety of things. How do you work with people in that?
Both actually. Yeah, both in person, or I can work with anyone in the world virtually. So both is great, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, a lot of the coaches that I speak with don't have an in-person opportunity. So it's kind of nice. I think yours is about 50-50 of what you do. So that's great. Let's go into, I usually when I'm talking to subject experts, I usually like to dive into, because you understand your topic better than most. So I like, from your experience perspective, let's just talk about some of the myths that people have when it comes to menopause. What are some of the things that you hear that is this is a myth?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one of the biggest myths I hear over and over is that women think that their experience is going to be just like their mothers. And that's not true at all, actually. Our mothers, they really lived in a different time and a different generation. They more often had less, I think, stress, but some may have lived in war times and had more stress. So it depends on that. They may have ate differently. They actually say that if you have sisters really close in age to you and lived a similar life, that your experience might be more similar to them. But the main thing that I like women to know is that we're all unique. Everyone's going to be different. I even kind of use this big fancy term, but we all come to menopause with our own bio, psycho, social, cultural, and spiritual background. So that is why it is a unique experience to everyone. And that's why I like to customize how I work with people as well. Yeah.
So it's not like cookie cutter, one size fits all. It just depends. That really makes sense, because some people might be stay-at-home moms. So some people might have experienced, other losses, job loss, marriage loss, like women going through divorce. And there's all of that layered on. Or maybe, a death in the family, like parents or what have you around that age. So this sort of just ramps it up, or moves, or all sorts of things. So everybody's unique, and then different food intolerances and things like that. So that's really great to know that it's not like one size fits all. And that really is where you, as the menopause wellness coach, come in, because you can take that moment to sit down and go, okay, like, let's look at what are the factors, and what is the biggest tripping point that somebody has. So what are the levers? Which lever can we tweak to get the best, fastest relief? Because it can be kind of quickly once you crack the code on somebody's particular, like when we look at it and like, oh, this one little thing is really what's out of alignment here. And that will be we can do all sorts of stress relief, stress management, all sorts of things, which will all help. But that one thing for a particular person is where you can really like get the most movement to go, whew, phew, thank you. Like, getting really that relief. So why is menopause, that transition, such, an important stage of life? What would you say about that transition? It's a natural phase, but like, why do we have so much trouble with this?
Yeah, it is a really significant stage. It's actually more significant than even going into puberty, actually. Lots of changes are going on. And I think most women, they think that if they could just manage the symptoms and just get through it, I'll just get through this. It'll maybe be 3 months or maybe 12 months. And I'll be
years, as we're learning.
Yeah. The average is 7 years of symptoms. So a lot of women just think it's a short-term game and we'll just get through it. But what I like to teach my clients is that there's also a long-term game to this. Menopause actually begins the biological process of cardiovascular decline, bone loss, and cognitive decline. And when you put that into perspective, you realize, oh my goodness, there's some silent things going on inside my body that you actually can't see. Like bone loss is something women get really caught off guard and surprised later in life. But the earlier you start looking after your bones, the more important. And the two things we need for that, because osteoporosis is what really grips a lot of women. Actually, we diagnose osteoporosis more than strokes, heart attacks, and even breast cancer. So sarcopenia, which is that muscle loss, and that if you can keep your muscle mass, you'll also be able to probably keep the bone mass as well. So we really need to tweak and change our exercise at this time of life and use weights, mini weights, or even things like yoga classes, because you're using your body weight in a weight-bearing way. So I have all my clients start tweaking and changing the way they're exercising, because that's really important.
Yeah, it's more important than I think a lot of people realize. When you have, I remember, as a doctor and looking at falls in the elderly when we look at geriatrics now. And so a lot of times when we're talking about menopause, we're not thinking geriatric, but there's the trajectory. And like you're saying, this starts the decline, muscle mass loss, bone loss. It's a recipe for hip fractures in a seriously high rate of mortality within 1 year from a hip fracture. And so if you don't have your muscle strength, you don't have your balance, and if you have numbness in your feet, for example, that's going to affect that. And if you don't have that bone strength, then that can have some serious repercussions. And then not only that, but heart health and all sorts of things. So it's kind of like a marker, how well you're doing with menopause is like how well your body is doing with alignment and not being inflamed. And it's kind of like a warning shot, just to kind of to say, hey, here's how well you're doing managing through this. And it is, there is a potential huge opportunity to alter some things and just say, hey, you know what, I'm putting a line in the sand here. I'm not willing to go down like this. I'm not willing to do that. And our brain, to have their mental faculties, hugely important. You don't want to have cognitive decline. I mean, we want to live long, healthy, happy, vibrant, energetic lives. And there are some things that we can do. And how we manage menopause is kind of how we are going to manage the rest, the second half of life kind of thing. So
Yeah.
really, really good. Let's share since we have you here, what are some tips? Okay. So we got these women, they're like, okay, I'm with you, but I'm having some trouble. What can I do right now? So what are some things that you could share with them? Some kind of, I know it's not cookie cutter, but there are some sort of common things that you can share. What are some tips that women can do if they're struggling with this and they're looking for some relief?
Yeah, one of the common things I get asked about is sleep. Anything about sleep right away, and a lot of women don't realize that they need a very, very cool and dark room at night. So I'm talking like 16 to 18 degrees Celsius or 60 to 66 degrees Fahrenheit. Get blackout blinds. We really need the light to be dark, 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 as low as possible. No distractions, even cell phones. Cell phones need to be turned off, put away, preferably right out of the room, because not only do they have those light, flashes, but they ping. Sometimes the noise is there and you get distracted, and then your memory is almost like you remember it's right there and you almost want to check your messages, right? So they need to be out of the room.
Yeah.
And high alert when they're around. So they need to go away. Another one is protein. A lot of women at midlife need way more protein than what they can imagine at every meal, especially breakfast, lunch, and dinner. 20 grams or 5 to 8 ounces of protein is really important. And that just keeps your muscle mass up and keeps you burning fat better. Yeah. There's another one I want to talk about, pain. Yeah, pain is just so difficult at this time of life. Like, it can come out of nowhere, and not a lot of people equate sugar to pain. But when you take out like the inflammatory foods in your body, so I'm talking sugar, dairy, and gluten in particular, then you will likely be able to soothe and reduce that inflammation, and then the pain will most likely lessen. So something even like a Mediterranean diet is a great diet for an anti-inflammatory diet. And that pain is one of the ones that just hit me the rawest, right? So I definitely started to tweak my diet. There was no sugar, dairy, or gluten for a long time. I'm talking squeaky clean. And once you heal your gut a little bit too, sometimes you could put them back in a little bit, but you want to keep them out as much as possible.
Yeah. And I remember, talking to you, and we were like, okay, well, what is it? Like, what factor is it? If you had to like say the one, thing, and you were really saying like, yeah, you kept looking for that too. Like, cause you're changing so many things as you're trying to unravel this, cracking the code, it's feeling better. And you're like, okay, I did these dozen things. Which one is the thing that worked? And what was your conclusion?
Well, my big secret was more the stress response in the body, really. I had to look after the stress first, because without doing that, all of the other symptoms just got worse. And it's a little secret that not many people know about.
Yeah. And it isn't really one particular like food.
Yeah, it's not just one. You're right. Like it can be many things put together, and everybody's unique, right? So one woman might need a little bit more of one thing, and another might need a little bit more of something else, because we all come to menopause with our own biology and our own cultural beliefs. And women in Japan that eat a little more traditional diet, for instance, they do a little bit better than us in the Western world. In the Western world, we really do suffer more with some of those hot flashes and blood sugar issues because of our diet. So we really have to tweak it from all angles.
Yeah, no, and that's really good. So yeah, because sometimes I find, understandably, we want some quick relief, and what we're looking for is the quick natural pill, and
Right.
it's not really like that. And I really like how you create this. You look at their unique factors that led them to this point and create a unique blueprint of relief. A unique customized plan to address, because not everybody has pain, not everybody has anxiety, and so on. And so that's good, because you had a pretty clean diet coming into this, so
I
it's
did.
not like, oh well, Krista, she was a junk food junkie and this is why she had that. That was not the case, and not even, oh, she was stressed out because of this, that, and the other thing. No, good stress. So I think you're like the perfect person to be able to say that, like saying, hey, I hear you. Even if you're like, hey, I'm doing all the right things, why do I have this? And you're like, I get it. And then there's a few little tweaks in the recipe that make all the difference, a few little things. So a lot of times when somebody is getting relief from a particular thing, from menopause, so okay, they come to you, they want relief from the menopause, you bring them through, you help them with their wellness through menopause. There's some spin-off benefits. So they come in wanting one thing, but then they get some bonus, because when we heal our body and we're healthier, then all sorts of things also improve. What have you seen with your clients that you've worked with that, this wasn't why they came, but this is one of the spin-off, bonuses that you can kind of expect or could expect?
Yeah, the one that I hear a lot is that my clients often do lose some weight, and they all seem to lose at least 5 to 10 pounds because we've tweaked their diet. They're eating healthier, they're leaner, and they're burning fat. So they just love that. Like, who doesn't want to lose a few pounds, right? Because we do tend to put it on in our middle. And a lot of that is related to stress too, right? That cortisol. So we're soothing the stress response in the body and changing the diet. So that's a win-win to lose some weight.
Yes, most women are going to be happy with that. They're like, yes, sign me up just for that. I'll take that as a bonus benefit. So
yeah. Another one actually is they all often will stabilize their blood sugars. And this is also a really big one because, that's often related to the way they manage stress. And so when that's like this, less hot flashes too. A lot of people don't realize stable blood sugars mean less hot flashes. Trying to think if there was a client once. There was a client I had once that found that she could finally go out and socialize and have tea with her friends because she was in just too much pain before. So that was a really feel good story that she could socialize again after working with me.
yeah, because when you're in pain or you have anxiety and you're not going out with your friends, you're not connecting with your husband, and so you're not maybe even connecting with your children like you would like to be, because it becomes all consuming, wondering what the heck's going on. And so when you're freed up of that, then yeah, that would make sense. You can actually, and things like going out for tea with your friend is actually a big deal. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's actually a big deal in your big sort of, living a happy life, which is why we're doing this, is really important. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. I think that's mainly what I wanted to kind of tap in. If you guys have questions, feel free to pop them in the question board. If they do have questions for you, Krista, how can people connect with you, ask you questions, find out more about what you do or about menopause and being well through menopause, transitioning with these? How can they hear more about you?
Yeah, sure. Anyone can find me at my website. The website's bloomingrosewellness.com. There's a Let's Chat button on there. Just click it, and I'm happy to help you take advantage of that. I also have a business Instagram page, and that is the @ bloomingrose.wellness. So bloomingrose.wellness. Yeah, so there you go. That's how you can find me.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's bloomingrosewellness.com. I like to spell it for people: BLOOMINGROSE wellness, WELLNESS.com, bloomingrosewellness.com. You also have a free starter kit. What's that called? Ease through easing through.
Easing into menopause. Yeah, easing into menopause. I have a starter kit there. That's basically, there's a short little quiz there for you to take, and then some 7 tips, and then a daily habit tracker. And I also have 2 hormone balancing recipes there as well for anybody that's interested. So check those out as well.
Awesome. Hormone balancing recipes. That sounds good. That sounds good regardless. So, well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you with us, Krista. And thank you for sharing. And it's as awful as that story was of what you went through, talk about taking the bounce and making this world a healthier, happier place. And I think people can feel your passion and your commitment for women, so that they know they don't have to suffer in silence, and that they can transition through menopause with ease and joy, and unravel some of those symptoms, so that please do not hesitate. Please feel free to connect with Krista. She's an amazing woman, an amazing coach, and just really has such a heart. And I know she's so generous with what she offers. So please feel free to tap into that. She knows how important it is for you. So thank you, Krista.
Thank you. Thank you so much, because this journey meant a lot to me to share with you today. And it was a difficult time, but it was worth it, because in the end of what I'm doing for women in the world, it's so worth it now. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, that's our interview with Krista, the menopause wellness coach of Blooming Rose Wellness. If you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe. If you have questions or you would like to hear from an expert in a given topic, pop that in the comments. We'd love to hear. We're always interviewing fantastic wellness experts in their field. With that, have a great day. And of course, be good for you.